What's going on? Ryan Troy back with another video for you today. And in this video, I'm joined by a good friend, Serena, and she actually happens to be a photographer too. So I'll link her stuff in the description as well. Now, what I want to talk about today is off-camera flash and how to expose it the right way, okay? Now, when it comes to people saying you should get everything right in camera, that's true, but it is a difference when it comes to JPEG versus RAW. Now with JPEG, you really can't do much with the photo once you take it, but with RAW, you have all of these possibilities to manipulate the photo a little bit better. So when shooting JPEG, always make sure that you get everything perfectly right. But when it comes to RAW photos and off-camera flash, a lot of photographers will tell you to expose for the ambient, for the background. And usually what they mean when they say this is make sure that you can see the sky, or at least that's what they do. But the problem with this is a lot of times people go into, they have a nice blue, vibrant sky, and it could take them to like 5,000 of a shutter speed. And what they do is they crush their blacks. Now, when I say blacks, what I'm speaking about is shadows. And when I say whites, what I'm speaking about is highlights. Now, this is important for when we jump in the Lightroom, you'll understand what I mean by that. So they tend to crush their shadows. But one thing I want to do is show you the way that I do it, which is using either my histogram or that little option where you can see when your highlights are overexposed by peaking. So we're going to jump into that tool, and I'm gonna show you how I like to expose using that. That way we have a little bit more to play with our shadows, and they're not so dark where the trees are like this army military green or black, and they're like vibrant green, and you still have that beautiful sky. So we're gonna go ahead on and jump into shooting, and I'll explain what I'm doing as I do it. You ready? Cool. I did not think I was gonna get that in one take. Oh my God. Okay, so first what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna expose for the ambient, and I'm gonna do it kind of sort of how other people do it to show you what my shutter speed will be, and then I'll take a photo. Then I'll expose for it the way that I would do it, and then put the flash on and take a photo. So right now, this is not having the flash go off. We are about 4,000 of a shutter speed. Okay, I'm gonna take this photo so you can see. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead on and I'm gonna turn on the light and take a photo so you can see kind of sort of how other people's off-camera flash photos are. So I'm using an AD400 with a pair snap, and let's do there we go. All right, so we're gonna get the light right. So we're gonna test. Oh, I'm not even in high speed sync. High speed sync, because we're at 4,000. Okay, and boom. And with this, because the shutter speed is so high, that is not bright enough. So I'm gonna go up to a half instead of 1/4 the power. Boom. And this is kind of sort of looking like that look that I see a lot of people do. I am still gonna go up to full power just to give it a little bit more light, but usually I do see photos kind of sort of like that last one. So this is at full power. Perfect. Now, this photo, as you can see, the trees are extremely dark, but the sky looks good, the clouds look good, all of that looks good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take a photo the way I like to do it, which is using a histogram and seeing when things are peaking, so I can get all of the trees in the background to be the nice green color. So I'm gonna go ahead on, take some test shots. And at first we were at 4,000, but I'm gonna come way down on that. Okay, right here, I am at about 800, but I'm gonna come down even more. Let's go to 1,000. I'm gonna take this photo. Okay, and I'm gonna check to see if I am peaking. And I am peaking a little bit in the clouds, but the area of the clouds that I'm peaking in, I am absolutely fine with that. But I'm still gonna come down just to 1/250th of a second. Let's look at that. And that's perfect. All right, so Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crank on the flash, and as you should see, I will not have to shoot at half power or at full power. I'll be able to shoot way lower than that, which is great because that means you can take more shots and also better recycle time. So let's go ahead on and turn on the flash. And just for giggles, I'm gonna do full power just so you can see how bright it'll be. All right, 2.8 and boom. All right, that's bright. Would you agree? Pretty bright. All right, cool. Pretty bright. All right, we're gonna bring that flash down. So let's come to 1/4 just to start there. And boom. And honestly, I like this. Let's go to the histogram. The histogram is even. It is perfect. And then the clipping is, like I said, just little specks in the clouds, which is fine because there's no detail there anyway. So that is how I would do that. Let me show you. Good? Yeah. All right, cool. So we're gonna take a couple more photos and then you can join me in Lightroom where we go through the files and I can show you the way I edit it in order to still get a nice blue background and shadows that's vibrant with the trees and green, okay? Now that we're back home, let's jump into Lightroom and I'll show you how I edit these files. So this is that first photo right here, and this is at 4,000th of a second. And if you look right here, you'll see the sky is nice. And usually when people tell you expose to the background, this is what their photo looks like before you put flash to it, right? Now, right here, we're at 1/4 of a power. So you can see how that looks. And then right here, we're at 1/2 of a power. And then right here, we are at a full power. And usually this is where people like to be. Now, me personally, I hate the way this looks. And the reason why is because if we look in this shadow area right here, you will see that dark green and all of that. And if we try to, let's just push our shadows up, like, I just don't like the way it looks. It's not that vibrant green or anything like that. It's not my favorite thing. We can also look at this histogram and we can see everything is pushed over to the left side, which is your darks, right? Now, the way I like to expose is like this, right? So if we look at our histogram, although we are right here, if you look at the histogram, once I go over the clippings, you see I'm only peeking at that little area of red right there. Other than that, everything is properly exposed. And what that means is if I ever wanted to do anything, all I have to do is take my highlight slider and pull it down. Now I got a great sky, right? While also still having all of my shadows intact. So if I push all my shadows up, like this is dynamic range, and this is what we get when we expose properly by using a histogram. Now, once again, this is no flash whatsoever. Remember the first time I took the photo, I said, I'm gonna leave it on a full power just so you can see what it looks like. And this is that photo. So this is exposed the way I'm talking about, and she is just blown out. And the thing about it is although it's really bright, it's actually not blown out. But and what that means is if you take the highlights slider, you can pull some of that information back. But I would never shoot like this. This is way too bright for what I will be going to. So here I came at about 1/4 power, right? And this is what I like to do. Now I have presets based on the way that I edit, right? So it's two. One is tropical maternity that I usually use, and that's going to give me something like this, right? Kind of vibrant a little bit, and just and I would tinker with this a little bit as far as whatever I want to do, whether I wanted to actually like go up on my exposure a little bit. It's really, and going up on my exposure, I could come down on my highlights to still preserve those clouds. You have so much free range when it comes over it. But the thing about it is, when we go back to this image right here, if I was to hit that with a tropical maternity, those shadows still look bad. So can I bring my highlights up, which would, mess with the sky to make that look a little good? Sure. But when it comes to bringing these shadows up, it's just not going to look as clean as something like this will look. Now, another preset that I usually use as well is Page Smile, and that's a really vibrant preset. So a lot of times I actually come down on my vibrance because of how, you know, vibrant it is. But the reason why I love it is it makes the trees stand out. You know, they're really green, all of that. And usually I'll probably even bring my shadows down a little bit, right? Just so we could get some contrast into it. And that's how that would look. But if we was to take that same preset and come over here to Page Smile, well, for one, I wouldn't bring those shadows down. If anything, I would try to bring them up more because of just how dark it is. Now, do you think that this is a good image? For you, it might be good. It may be good. That may be your jam. And I'm gonna bring the vibrance down like I did on the other one. This may be a jam, but what I want you to keep in mind is when you shoot like this at 4,000 of a second, you will need something like a AD400 like I did. Now, if you know me, you know I usually use a AD300 and people say, oh, well, it's not powerful enough. Well, if you're shooting like this, it may not be powerful enough, but I went from 4,000 of a second to 1/250 of a second, shooting the way that I like to shoot, where I use my histogram and see when things are peaking to get that file with more high dynamic range in it, back to Lightroom. So basically that's all I wanted to show you, the proper way that I will go about shooting off-camera flash, so you can have every single thing you need to without crushing those blacks. So if you like this video, crush that like button. But until the next time, I'm Ryan Troy. Peace.